I have been quite literally taking notes for the past probably couple days, honestly, on the Israeli Palestine conflict. And 5 minutes before actually recording, I realized it doesn't matter. Because even if I got every single detail of this shit correct, people would still be angry. And how can you not be, right? The conflict has been absolutely horrendous. And that's an understatement, right? People are literally getting captured, tortured, killed. And we're not just talking like, oh, like it's this person's army versus this person's army. This is like civilians, women, children of all ages captured and killed on both sides. And I'm not here taking any sort of stance. You got me damned if you think I'm going to come on here and be like, oh, yeah, I think these people are correct. But it's been an absolute bloodbath. This is shit that we would literally read about in history books and be like, damn, like people had slaves. It's that kind of shit where it's like, damn, like I didn't even know as a civilization that it could get this fucked up. And I'll repeat this over and over again, but I watch my word on this because more importantly than even, trying to avoid getting quote unquote canceled, it's just being sensitive to the matter. In addition to that, I don't have any idea how to grasp the entirety of what's going on. People on Instagram love to think that they know what's happening. And they, repost stuff and talk about like, oh, well, this is how you should help. This is what you can do. And I know, look, I'm supposed to take the stance of like a countryman to be like, oh, well, I think our country can help in this conflict to resolve it in this timeline so then people stop dying. But let's be real here, man. That conflict, and this is the ignorance is bliss part. I went to go look this up and I was looking at YouTube videos from 7 years ago. So this conflict is nothing new. And for those that don't know, and honestly, I bet it's a handful of people, and there's no problem with that. People that have probably just been seeing stuff on the news, seeing stuff on Instagram, Twitter, X, anything. There's land and there's religion. Anytime those two things are involved, there's conflict. This has been an ongoing issue. There have been resolutions in the past. Did that solve the problem? Obviously not. And now you got violence going both ways. And people do have a stance, right? People do say like, oh, you know what? I really think it's supposed to be Palestine land. When they say that, they don't mean, oh, well, I hope these other group of people die. And this isn't from our generation. This is from generations leading up. Has our generation fixed anything? No. Look at the generational hate that you may see in your family. Did your family tell you not to marry a certain religion? Did they frown upon you when you were dating a certain race? And you thought, damn, I'm really not going to be able to break this glass ceiling. But I know when I have kids, more than likely I will be open to the matter. And that is what we're seeing right now. It's just more of the same generational conflict. Has it gotten worse to an extent? I don't know, man. From what I've read on the news in the last week, I have no idea how to grasp the entire situation. I've tried reading so much shit that it's been like, bro, I can't even do this anymore. This shit is so depressing. I quite literally have notes here. How much, the percentage land that each region belonged to, Zionist movement, the British involvement, the peace treaty, the rise of the PLO, all of this shit. And then, the Hamas, obviously, all of this shit for what? Because no matter what I say, there is no, like, yes, I could probably help inform you, but just go watch a YouTube video and understand basically the history of the land that is being fought over. And once again, I repeat it, anytime land and religion is involved, conflict is bound to arise. My stance is I just truly want people to stop dying. Now, is that like a tree hugger thing to say? Yes, and I get it. But what is so bad about that? What is so wrong with that? And what is so wrong with expressing that opinion and nothing more and nothing less? We start moving over to the Instagram side of things. And look, I used to have a problem with people just kind of reposting stuff on their stories. Honestly, I really did. But I will say this, that it is 100% the way to spread information. Can some of that be misinformation? Absolutely. Because of how much shit literally is on social media, there is bound to be misinformation in there. LeBron James posted something on his story or posted on his feed where it was a post that was going around. A lot of celebrities reposted it. I didn't fact check it. I barely read it, honestly. And people got mad at him. So if you don't say anything, people will get mad at you. And then if you say something that you think is correct, people get mad at you. So why even waste your time? You think LeBron James is going to solve this issue? This world issue that's been happening for decades? He can't even solve his own issues. What the hell do you think he is going to do about this matter? And I'm just using LeBron as an example, right? Like I mentioned this with any celebrity or even friends. When people get mad at like, "Oh, hey, why haven't you posted a black square yet?" I don't know. I didn't really see the value in it. Same thing with this. And then people get mad at when celebrities delete stuff. And it's just like, yo, they made a mistake. Why are you so enraged that they're deleting it afterwards? Do you want them to pretty much have that shame? And it's like, what is so wrong with deleting something that they later learned was misinformation? Or just general mistakes? Or just things that didn't work out? You ever delete pictures of your ex? All right then. This is a world issue. The such a big issue and conflict that something on Instagram isn't going to fix this. Stop it. Cut it out, man. And then people want the US to get involved. Do you remember the last time we got involved with the Middle East? We were there for pretty much a decade. Just people losing lives from our side, people losing lives there, and then just ruling under this thumb of fear. Is that the correct way to go about things? I don't know. But my opinion is no. Someone in the White House, and I should probably fact check this. Maybe it wasn't White House directly, but I heard it on another podcast that is pretty credible. There was a stance to send bombs, that the US should get involved and basically level the playing field to end the conflict. That is not going to solve the problem. Right now, what the US is doing is something I'm actually a fan of. They've basically sent their power to the surrounding areas to incentivize other parties to not get involved in the current conflict that's happening. Now, how does the current conflict that is happening come to a peaceful state? I don't know. But let me tell you something. The Instagram post and my $5 donation to some link isn't going to do anything. I agree that Instagram posts should be spread around to, get information to people, to inform people about what's going on in the world, because that is how we consume information. Let's be real. Well, you haven't turned on the news in probably a decade. You open up Instagram every day. And I worked for a defense company. I know how much money is spent on building that shit out. So if any foreign aid is given, let me tell you something. It has to be from them. I understand once again with the same thing about Hawaii, where it's like, well, if it's not coming from their pocket, then maybe we should give our dollar. But right now, where the issue is at, I do not think money is going to solve anything. And I really am not trying to be polarizing, get any people angry, put any people down. My stance on the matter still stays the same. I hope this can come to a peaceful resolution as fast as possible and people stop dying. And on top of that, stop trying to cancel friends, family, people that you admire in the real world, or, things like celebrities and musicians, whatever it is. Stop canceling people because they make a mistake, canceling each other because of opinions that we're expressing, thoughts that we share on Instagram. What's the point of all of us thinking the exact same thing? What is that going to bring? All right, I'll get off my soapbox about this. Focusing on a problem within our own state, my home state more precisely, there was a shooting at the Texas State Fair. Yeah. No one was surprised. Let's be completely honest. And I'm okay with already joking about the matter because thankfully no one died. A couple of people were injured, but nothing fatal. And this arose over a conflict between two people that knew each other. How a gun even got into the state fair blows my mind. And the state fair is back up and running already. They opened up a little bit late the next day. So the incident happened on Saturday, and then they opened up on 2 p.m. on Sunday. And then, just push the amount of police that are present at the event. Would you go after that? And I go back to the whole thing where it's like, no one was surprised. It's absolutely hell for the people that were there, and I understand how traumatizing it is. I have not personally been in a situation like that, but I have had a loved one that has been on site of an active shooter. And it's traumatizing for all parties. I don't want to take anything away from the, people that it actually happened to. But I remember being on the phone. It was my sister. And she's calling me and hiding, talking about like, hey, if anything happens, da da da. You start talking about the end. And that permanently scars you from any type of big gathering in public. You can't even sit still and enjoy the event that you're at because the only thing in the back of your head is, does someone have a gun here? Does someone have a bomb here? Is my life in danger? My parents were supposed to take my nephew, that is 4 years old, to the state fair on Saturday. They more than likely would have been there during that time of that shooter. And that is terrifying. I know this is supposed to be a comedy podcast. Holy shit, we're so far from that right now. But just stick with me. We just got some serious shit to talk about. Like, what happened to good conflict? Like, what happened to a good fight? Just shoving someone pushing someone back. This gun shit is just so out of hand. And obviously in Texas, more specifically because of what Texas is. But what just happened to fighting someone straight up? The news thing said that these two people knew each other. What happened to two people just whooping each other's ass? It used to be a thing where I remember me and my friends, when we used to go out, drink and stuff, it used to be kind of a thing where it's like, oh, like let's see if we can get into a little shoving thing, and push someone, we get pushed back, maybe some fists get thrown, and then everyone goes their separate ways. I've had a friend get knocked out right in front of me. We picked them up. It made for a good story the next day. Now, that was the beginning of college. Maybe towards the end, you start having the realization as you start seeing more and more shootings out in public, especially during the nightlife, you start realizing like, damn, I'll be damned if I push anybody. If I even try to start a conflict, let's say I knock someone's drink over or they bump into me. Either way, I'm not going to get an attitude. I'm not getting shot. I'm not losing my life over this shit. Someone bumps me, I'll be immediately, hey, my bad, bro. Hey, my bad. Can I get you a drink? Can I get you a drink and your whole posse a drink? Let me get your whole drink. Let me get drinks for the rest of the night for you guys. And I'll pay for your Uber. I'll do anything. Because I'm not losing my life over this shit. And that's what I don't understand is just like, what happened to some good old fist fighting? I say this one last time. Thankfully, everyone's all right. And holy shit. I don't even know if my parents have the slightest of desires to even go to the state fair anymore. How can you after something like that happens? But I guess, it's something like with anything else. Like there's been an airport shooting, right? People go back to airports. People go back to school. And you just kind of hope something changes. It's messed up, man. For real. It's messed up. I'm going to take a little water break and then we'll get into the rest of the episode. Ladies and gentlemen, I know it's a little weird to have the intro probably towards the end of the episode, but here we are. My name is Ajay Patel. Welcome to the Ajay Patel Show. And we are finally on episode 10. So my main objective was to get to 10 by myself and then eventually start having friends on. Have I lined that up? Nope. Because this shit honestly crept up. I felt like last week I was recording episode 5 and then boom, boom, boom. Next thing you know, we're at 10. I thank all of you real quick before, we keep going. I thank all of you so much for the support that you've given, all the feedback that you've given, whether you've been liking it, sharing it, commenting, talking shit about it. I appreciate all of it. I wish I had some champagne with me. I just have this big ass hydro flask that I really hate drinking from because that's what I look like when I drink from it. Now we spent some time at the beginning talking about some serious shit. Now let's get into a little bit of clowny shit with my girl, Jada Smith. Now, I don't understand how she just keeps coming back. Anything she says or does just continues to come back. And every single time it happens, it always puts this strange light on my boy Will. Now, I was being a little sarcastic with the whole my girl Jada stuff. That's just a joke. I am actually a massive Will Smith fan. I know last week I said I was a big Drake fan. That fool means nothing to me compared to Will Smith. Man crush, bromance, whatever you want to call it. My man, Will Smith. I damn near mimicked my personality off of this dude growing up. Watching Fresh Prince, watching Fresh Prince, watching all the bad boys. He was the coolest dude on earth. And then social media got a grasp of him, and then he became, this dude. But back then, he was the coolest thing on earth. You would see him only on the big screen every other year. And for a big ass movie, too. That's where you'd see him. And then you watching reruns on Nickelodeon at 9 p.m. of Fresh Prince. So even though he does some weird shit on like Instagram and TikTok nowadays, the dude is my favorite. And every single time Jada Pinkett comes up, there's always some weird stuff about their marriage, their situationship, anything. It always puts a weird light on them, and then also more so him. And it's honestly like it should be studied how she's pretty much has gotten away with all of this, and she's still able to release a book in the upcoming weeks. Now, if you don't know, Jada Pinkett Smith is coming out with a memoir. Is it a memoir or autobiography? Maybe memoir is a cooler name for it, so I think that's what I'm going to go with. But she's coming out with a memoir about basically her life, growing up in Baltimore, the tough streets of Baltimore, meeting Tupac, them being best friends / lovers, her meeting Will, them having kids, their love, and then how they got separated, or not how they got separated, but the rumor came out, and actually not a rumor because she confirmed it, but they were not married for probably the last 7 years, apparently. And this is what I'm talking about, where it's just like, what? We just saw this fool on Red Table Talk damn near wanting to bawl his eyes out over that whole quote unquote entanglement. Then we see him a couple years later, or maybe a year or two later, with the whole Chris Rock incident. And we were like, damn, this fool has lost it. Him being with her, he has lost it. And then, she was on this interview. I forgot who it was with, but it was with a credible person. And she talks about like how they basically weren't married for the last, or they were married, but not together. I don't know the term for it, but they don't call each other husband and wife. And so then when he was saying the infamous line of keep my wife's name out of your mouth, she was shocked. And she thought that the whole slap was a skit at the beginning. And it's just like, what is going on? Every single time she comes into the news, this is what happens. Will just looks like a madman every single time. And what's crazy is this, like, I try to take a step back from my Jada hate and just be like, are they doing something unique here? Like, are they just doing something that's a little bit off the cuff that maybe more people probably have set up, but they just haven't come forward and talked about it? Because these are two big celebrities. Obviously, Will Smith is probably 10 times her size, but still, they are big celebrities. So do they really not get divorced because of there's no like prenup or, like what's going on? Do they stay together because they truly do love each other deep down and they have a family? I don't know. But that was my one, like my little 5 seconds back from my Jada hate. And then coming back to it, it's just like, God damn, I really wish you would just go away, man. Every single time it's headlines. She doesn't have to come out with a movie. She doesn't have to be on a TV show, a project. And now she has a book and she's back on the front page. I bought the Will Smith book. Did I read it? No, but it's Will Smith. I had to buy the book. Do I buy the Jada book and just put the two next to each other in the house as some nice decoration? I don't know, man. My girl Jada. The last thing I want to talk about is I started watching this JUUL documentary on Netflix. Now, I know I can't be the only one watching this documentary because me and probably 100 of my friends all know damn well how popular that shit was, especially in college towards the end. I was never someone that was big on JUULs or anything with tobacco specifically. But then you learn like, oh shit, the same people that made JUUL made those Pax pens, which was intended to be for cigarette use. So then, people would put tobacco in the system, burn it, and then, that's how it would go about. But it took off in the cannabis area. So shit like that you learn from the documentary. But I was around a lot of it when people were putting cotton balls in those weird ass pens. And then adding some type of oil and shit to it and then burning that to get this big ass plume. I was around all of it. And then eventually it became that little USB stick that was known to be JUUL. The rise and fall of that company. I didn't really know that it fell. I thought it was just killing it. But I guess it was bound to fall once it started killing a bunch of teenagers and stuff because everyone was getting their hands on it. But even now, that market's so big. I haven't finished the documentary, so I'll definitely talk about it a little bit more once I do. But I remember that wedding that I was at a couple weeks ago, and I talked about it on here, where on Friday night of the wedding, it was kind of just like this social activity at the bar. And I was with my boy, and he was using his, I don't even know, like just vape. Yeah, let's just call it vape because it wasn't a JUUL specifically. But it's essentially the same thing, right? He was using his vape, and then another guy comes in, and I guess he knew that my friend was a Beta Chi. He says, "Hello, my name is blah, blah, blah." And then without hesitation, right? Since he saw my friend using a vape, he pulls his out like it was like a business card transaction. And it was so strange to me where it's like, look, I get it. If you want to use that shit, cool. I understand. But like, just because you saw him using his, you pulled yours out. Like, it's so weird. I can't even explain it. And I'm going to go into this a little bit more when I finish this documentary so I can really fire some people up. But it's just weird the culture that it's become. Weed pens, tobacco pens, all of that shit. I don't know if you've ever been like in social circles where people just pass them around and it's like, this is weird. Like, why don't everyone just smoke from their own pen? I always thought just smoking cigarettes was so much cooler, but that's just me. I guess I should add this note on, but if you're watching this, kids or people of any age, don't smoke. Smoking kills. This is my PSA. It's the stance I hold. Don't smoke. Stay in school. With that being said, if you are in the LA area and you have any interest on getting onto the podcast, please feel free to email me. I'll put my email somewhere in the description. But definitely starting to look for guests that kind of want to talk about more or less of the same stuff, right? Maybe their work in the creative spaces, things that they think about that is going on in the world. It literally can be anything, just as long as you're interesting, right? But I repeat, I do thank you guys all so much for the support. 10 episodes in. The shit has flown by. My name has been Ajay Patel. Thank you guys all again. I'll see you next week, and bye.